Now that the You Create Barbie Basics dolls and all the other newest releases from Mattel have put us in severe credit card debt, I needed a way to save you some money, okay? I had about enough of these whack behind wigs that these dolls came with, so I decided to test out a rooted look on one of my You Create Barbie Basics dolls. We don't know which face sculpt this one is, but whatever. So I went for the doll whose sculpt I like the least because I didn't want to have major regrets if it didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. Let me just walk you guys through my little process. The first challenge with these ball-headed dolls is that unlike a doll where you're rerooting her, it already comes with pre-made holes and a hairline that's defined. You have to do all of that on your own with these. The hairline acts as a guide to help you decide the placement of the plugs on the scalp of the doll. If you make the forehead too big or too small, then you might end up having some regrets. Although, if you make the forehead too big by accident, it's easier to fix because you can just add more plugs if that's totally necessary. So initially, I used the pencil to do a rough draft of the hairline. This way I could erase what I didn't like and fix it later until I was satisfied. Then I used some acrylic paint, nothing special, to color the scalp in where the hair was going to be added. So this is the part of the head that's going to be underneath the hair, and when you part the doll's hair, it should be blending in with the hair. Of course, you're supposed to make the scalp the same color as the hair that you're going to root with, but at the time I didn't know which hair I was going to use, so I just figured it would probably be some type of a brown tone, and that's what I went with. But no worries, brown makes more sense than blue. Next, on a complete and total whim, I polled you pretty people with a question asking which of the 3 dolls you found the most suitable for this curly red-headed wig that I tried out on all of them. An overwhelming majority of you, like 60%, said that you liked the wig best on a doll with the red lipstick. And speaking of this doll, I did reach out again to Carlisle Nuera, who designed these dolls, and I sent him some photos of the dolls matched up to possible names that, according to what I've been seeing on the internet, are supposed to be corresponding with their faces. So I basically sent it to him so that he could confirm whether it was correct or not. He said that the names did not quite match up accurately with all of the faces, and that he's definitely for sure gonna post the correct ones on his Instagram. So we're gonna check back in with Carlisle as soon as he posts them, and I'll let you guys know exactly what he posted for those of you who are not accessing Instagram or don't follow him there. Another thing I like to do is these mock-up photos where I try to virtually root the dolls to see what might be a good choice for them. If I wasn't too lazy to create these characters in my Sims 4 game, I would have done it that way too. Build their face sculpts and try different hairstyles and colors to have a virtual image of how the dolls would look with potential hair choices. Just some ideas I'm throwing out there if you're a visual person like me, and these tools or ideas could help you to figure out how you want to root your dolls. I know I'm not the only person who plays Sims 4, which is basically a virtual dollhouse. I know I'm not the only one who recreates her Barbie collection into the game, right? So after y'all voted, I decided I would use the actual hair from this wig to root into the doll's head. The thing is, the hair looks longer on the wig because it's glued in from the roots, and the hair length will reduce in half when the doll is rooted with it because I have to fold the hair strands in half in order to root it into the doll. But I didn't mind that. I didn't want her to have a bunch of long hair that's past her shoulders, because lately I've been getting annoyed with dolls that have hair that's too long. When I try to dress the doll, the hair doesn't sit right on the doll, and if they wear certain types of clothing pieces that have certain collars or hoods, the hair seems to get caught in the clothes, and then I get really irritated trying to constantly manipulate the hair so that it will sit right on the doll. I do not have the patience. I decided shorter hair would be easier to manage for this girl, since I was really trying to test this rooting thing out on her anyway. If I hate it, then I can pull all the hair right out and start over. Before I started rooting, I did take a thumbtack and plot holes all around the doll's head. I had drawn on black lines as guides so that I knew what direction I wanted to line up the hair plugs. I made sure to give her enough holes in the first row of her hairline because that's the part that we're gonna see the most when looking at the doll. I also went for a middle part just to have the option of parting her hair, but I wasn't really sold on that for her curly wild hair. I wasn't sure how it would be styled once it was finished. I just liked the idea of having options in case I did want to part it in the middle. But here's the thing, even though I plotted holes with a thumbtack all around this doll's scalp, you don't really need to do that. The rooting method that I'm using is basically gonna poke holes into the doll's head as I'm putting the hair in, so it's really time consuming to do it the way I did. But because I was testing and I wanted to make sure I knew where the hair was gonna go, and I kind of wanted an idea of like how many plugs I was gonna end up needing to make sure I had enough hair to use, that's why I did it the way that I did. But moving forward with the other 2 dolls that I have left to do, I'm not gonna do this. I'm just gonna map out the holes that are in the actual hairline itself in the front of the doll's head to make sure that the holes are all close together and I have enough hair to give her full coverage in the hairline. But then after that, I'm just gonna randomly poke the holes on the head directly with my rooting needle and just follow the guidelines that I put in the scalp when I paint it. Now, my inspiration for her wild hair was partly based on how she looks to me. Her personality was screaming free spirit, the type of chick who talks really fast. She's always in a hurry. She's never out the door on time because she keeps remembering one more thing that she needs to do before she walks out the house. And she constantly shows up to places late. She's late to work, late to a date, late to the birthday party that her friends are throwing at her bougie friend's pool, but the party is for her. She just seems like the type of girl who can't be bothered with sitting in front of a mirror for hours trying to tame her hair. My husband told me that she kind of looks like she might be half Irish or Scottish and half black. We know a girl in real life who is Scottish and black, and she's got freckles and orange hair like this, so maybe that's who she kind of reminded him of. I liked that idea, so I ran with it for a backstory for her persona and for her lineage. I definitely like the doll much better with hair. The rooting technique I use for her is the method where you push the hair in using a rooting tool. I made this rooting tool with sewing needles and an X-Acto knife. It's the least stressful method for me because I don't have the patience to root any other way. If you want to use this same method, there's a bajillion tutorials on YouTube showing you how to make a rooting needle like this. I learned how to do this when I was learning to reborn dolls, so it's the literal exact same thing that you do for reborn dolls. So if you're already familiar with that, then you don't have to learn anything new here. Rooting the other way, where you pull the needle through the doll's whole entire head, like that just takes way too long. It needs to be so precise, and I am not the one. I know my limits. Plus, I can't root over the course of a few days. I need to do it all in one sitting. I was done with this rooting project within a few hours while I watched some fun doll tube videos, which I'm gonna recommend to you guys right now. So I watched Amanda from Mini Stitches. She is really fun to chill with, and I would have invited her to all of my slumber parties in my actual real life if my paranoid mom would have ever let me have a slumber party. I also watched Jessica from Dollhouse Curator, Ethan on Barbie's GBF, and my girl Lala from Adult Doll Collector. They got me through it. I linked their channels below, so if you want to go have a look, be sure to tell them in the comments that Gypsy told you to watch them. Thank you. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the rooting needle, right. So I poked the hair into the head basically until everything was filled up. The hair that I used came from a Barbie looked Heidi from Wave 2, the original redhead Heidi. The hair is very high quality saran, although it's hard to tell in these photos and the footage that I'm getting because the shortness and wildness makes the hair look very dry and frizzy. But the texture is real easy to tame and to brush. This hair is just meant to be in big curls. When it's longer, it's more controllable, but the length is basically making the hair behave like it's an afro almost. Now, I did boil dip this hair to tame the volume just a bit. Like when I freshly did it, the curls were just wild as hell, okay? But I didn't want the curls to get lost, and I didn't want the hair to look smooth and sleek. I just wanted it to look like minimal effort was put into styling it, and she'd just be rocking her natural curly crazy hair. I also gave her baby hair, but I made the baby hair color a little bit darker than her actual hair. When I started, I thought that she was gonna have brown hair, but I did use watercolor pencils to draw on the hairs, so it's a pretty easy fix. I can just redo her baby hairs later to be closer to the actual hair color that she ended up with. Plus, it's kind of hard to see the baby hair with how the hair is currently styled. And even if I decided to leave the baby hair alone, it won't be a bad look because maybe she dyed her hair and her natural hair is actually brown. So maybe her baby hairs would still possibly stay brown? You know, I don't know. I haven't decided on that yet. Focus, people. My plans for the other 2 dolls. Now that I've tried this out, I have less anxiety about giving them permanent hair. I didn't seal the inside with glue because I was testing and I didn't know if I wanted to have the option to change the hair color. I didn't seal the inside with glue because I was testing and I didn't know if I wanted to have the option to change the hair later. It's much easier to remove the hair when it's not sealed, obviously, but honestly, The method that I use for rooting is such that I don't have to glue seal the hair, like it ain't going nowhere. If I'm not raking through the hair, it shouldn't be coming out. And with curly hair like this, I rarely brush or comb the hair fibers because I don't want to lose the curl patterns. So we should be okay without sealing the inside for this doll. Just as long as I dip the scalp in boiled water when I'm done, then when it dries and cools off, the holes in the scalp are gonna shrink around the plugs and kind of like hold them in place. So I do plan on giving my other two girls some hair. I think I've narrowed down the hair that I want to give them. I like to source hair from reject heads that I already have rather than buying new hair for rooting. So I may end up doing that with these dolls. For me, this is the best option because I don't root doll hair enough to actually invest in a stash of hair just to reroot them. So it doesn't cost me anything extra to give hair to my dolls doing it this way. We're recycling. I mean, do I look like Mattel? I ain't got no reason to be wasting plastic over here, okay? When I'm done giving hair to my other girls, I'm gonna update you guys with the progress and the finished looks. I'm going in a slightly different direction with them. I want each girl to really look like her personality is reflected in the way her hair is styled. I love how each face gives such different vibes in these kids. And now that I've done this, I feel a lot less stressed about the idea of adding more of these dolls to my collection when I eventually try out the other two kids. Because now I know I can give them custom hair rather than be stuck with their ghetto wigs, and it's not as painstaking as I imagined that it would be. I still think that they're not worth adding until the dolls go on sale though. But I am seeing listings on eBay where people have listed individual dolls or combinations of fashion pieces from these kits. So if you don't want to spend $100 for an entire kit where you only want one or two things in it, this might be an option, you know? Now speaking of bill greening, make sure you check out my latest video discussing my thoughts on how Mattel decided to handle letting this legend of a man go. As we all know, Mattel is the most perfect toy company that always gets every single thing right. So I had to commentate on it. I appreciate everybody who played along with me in the comments. I'm having such a great time reading the unhinged comment section. I know everybody doesn't get my sense of humor or sarcasm, but I can only be myself, and that's why I was willing to take that risk. My community of pretty people here truly shined through because most of y'all got the joke. It was such a fun video to make, and I might do some more videos like this, so let me know if you're interested in having a laugh every once in a while. We love dolls, but this community comes with a lot of ridiculous situations and toxic positivity, and if we don't laugh about it, like, we're liable to just go nuts. Furthermore, don't you love how I casually inserted that word which I never use in a sentence? Furthermore, if you're still looking to add models 1 through 5 from Barbie Basics, the original dolls which were designed by our boy Bill Greening, I have product links below that will take you over to retailers who are hopefully still carrying these dolls so you can purchase them for your collection. It's a way to support this channel at no extra cost to you. Be sure to share the videos over here. If you're lurking and you made it this far in, just stop kidding yourself, boo-boo. We should be dolly friends. Homie, go ahead and subscribe. You won't have to bother yourself trying to remember the name of this channel to come back to later because you're already a subby. I upload a handful of videos per week, so you don't want to miss anything we're doing here. You're watching Broken Dolly TV. I'm your host, Gypsy, never tipsy, and until the next video, I shall implore you, that's right, I know what implore means. I implore you to have a dolly day.